The NHL Free Agency was nothing short of shambolic, especially on July 1, but that doesn't change the fact that there are some winners and some losers. And we're going to start off with the biggest free agent in Mitch Marner, who didn't technically reach free agency because the Vegas Golden Knights traded for his rights from the Toronto Maple Leafs and gave him a 8x12 contract extension. My prediction was 14, but you were spot on with your $12 million per year prediction. So that leads to us saying that Vegas is one of our winners from this offseason so far.
I'm going to count it because that's how bad free agency was. At the end of the day, it was just a day before. They made them whatever moves he was going to reach market regardless. There were obviously the stupid shit about tampering going on, so he could have reached it if some stuff would have happened. But yeah, it was ultimately a sign and trade of Mitch Marner for 8x12 for Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh going back to Toronto in this case. But it's like we said in that Mitch Marner video we dropped a couple of episodes ago on this channel, that is the perfect match for me. At the end of the day, like, listen, is he going to a better player in Eichel than over Matthews? Playoff-wise, yeah. But overall, I would still give it to Matthews the edge. But if you're looking at the overall team, yeah, Vegas is overall the better team. Vegas underperformed ever since they won the Stanley Cup. They should have not got destroyed by Edmonton. Like how bad they got destroyed in 5 games. Obviously, we know what happened last year against Dallas. He goes there. It's not a big epicenter as Toronto or any other Canadian market is. Yes, pressure is there to win. Bill Foley, we know what he's capable of doing. If you don't play well, you're going to move on from you. But Mitch Marner is coming off a 102-point year. You get 102-point scorers there. He's a two-way player. He could be a Selke candidate. And yeah, like at the end of the day, the fit's perfect. Golden Knights make moves, and they didn't really lose. Like Nick Waugh is good for them, but he's a bottom 6 player. You upgrade heavily in the top 6, helps with the identity of the team with the defensive side of things as well, and your scoring. He's a playmaker. We all know what he did in the 4 Nations. He's the one who set up Connor McDavid for the winner there as well. Yes, the ultimate question for this guy is going to come playoff time, and I feel like this time with the attention away from him and Toronto in general, he's away from there, he will be fine. That's just my personal opinion.
When you're looking at this and their top 6 and their top line in general, if they load up, you got Eichel, Marner, and Stone. Stone is slowing down a little bit. You're seeing that. Obviously, the injuries are potentially catching up to him there. But at the end of the day, Stone and Marner especially like bring that two-way ability and obviously play driving ability on the wing. And then you have Barbashev, Carlson, Riley Smith, I already said Barbashev, but I don't know if I'm missing anyone there. But like at the end of the day, you're looking at that. That's like a pretty, top, especially that first line. That's really like, up there and one of the better ones in the NHL. And at the end of the day, the Vegas Golden Knights struggled against the Edmonton Oilers. So obviously, getting in Mitch Marner and providing help for Eichel, right, and Stone is going to be massive. And in terms of like just producing, because they couldn't really score against the Oilers much,
that's
right?
Fair as well.
So like obviously that's going to help and generate offense. And obviously defensively, we already know that Vegas Golden Knights are good. They're at the end of the day, Marner's coming to a situation where the goaltending is better, even though he is older, but it is better. The defense is obviously better, even with Pietrangelo retiring.
Yeah, essentially retiring. He's LTIR. So they're going to be able to make more moves. Rasmus Anderson is rumored to go there as well. So,
at the end of the day, like, Vegas upgraded heavily. Marner is in a better situation than in Toronto, in my opinion, as well. So, overall, like, for me personally, like you said, the fit for him, but the fit for both teams, it just has been, in my opinion, is flawless right now.
Let's go on to my biggest winner. And it's to no surprise, it's everybody's biggest winner. It's the Florida Panthers. The dynasty's going to continue. They brought back everybody, right? First of all, huge shout out for them. They need to put a statue of Aaron Ekblad. This guy took the biggest discount you could think of. 8 years, $6.1 million per year with a cap going up. $6 million a year for Aaron Ekblad is very cheap. As yes, the older he gets, we know it's gonna get diminished. But in current market value, he's at least $7-8 million minimum. 8 million, I would say $8 million.
He could have asked that much, yeah, for sure.
You signed Brad Marchand until he's age 43, which is pretty funny to hear. So was it a 6-year contract? And then you got Sam Bennett back on an 8x8, which is relatively fair. What this guy has done, he was your Finals MVP, your Conn Smythe winner. Sorry, he also is a playoff performer. Yes, it's the flip of Mitch Marner. He's not going to be a regular season producer point wise usually, but when it comes to playoff time, that's where his value is. They brought the band back together. They only lost Nate Schmidt, but Nate Schmidt was an OEL type replacement last year, and you could find another one you'll find another one, or they probably have, right? This team already 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals, 2 times they won in a row. They're still by far the best team in the NHL. 2 questions for you. Sorry, one question for you. This is a crossover to our basketball channel. So if you guys, link down below is Beyond the Basket, our basketball channel. There's a potential dynasty there in OKC Thunder. But do you agree or disagree if I tell you this, that the Florida Panthers have the chance to go on a longer, bigger dynasty run?
Well, yeah, they already won back-to-back. So
that's obviously a head start, but like
right,
in terms of future.
They already have 3 cup finals appearances in a row. So they've already, obviously the head start is massive for the Florida Panthers. But right now, bringing the team back, and I feel like a lot of people should agree that the second year team was much better than, in my opinion, not much better, but better than the first year team. Obviously, if Bennett and Marchand still produce like how they did, it'll definitely be on pace for a 3rd cup, and especially bringing everyone back. And with the cap going up, bringing everyone back, Ekblad taking a pay cut, it should be, in my opinion, easier to extend Bobrovsky as well. So like
he's not getting 10 mil next.
Yeah, he's not going to get 10 mil, obviously, but like, well, he shouldn't be getting 10 mil unless he dubs up somewhere else. But you should be able to it'll make it easier for you to bring back your cup-winning goaltender, right? Which is obviously huge because Bobrovsky has been a huge part in all of this as well. So when you're looking at it, the Florida Panthers are set up, right? Kachuk is obviously locked up, Barkov's locked up, Reinhardt's locked up as well. So overall, these guys are set. As simple as that. They're in line for it. At the end of the day, the NHL, the storyline in free agency is like, what additions, like this is what every team's thinking. What additions will help us take out the Florida Panthers? Yeah. Because they're essentially, they're the top dog. They're the perennial cup contender, right? Not just playoff contender, cup contender. And they are going to be for the next few years.
Marchand's LTIR candidate as well. I don't think anything changes the CBA about that. If it did, correct me down below in the comments. But he's going to be at 43 years old. You could say he's a prime LTIR candidate there as well. With Florida as well, they didn't, like I said, the year before they lost people. I agree with you that they are a better team that way. But yeah, this team, I guess the ultimate question comes down to, I think we have to bring it up, right? This is what everybody keeps talking about, and you're probably going to hate this conversation as much as I do. The whole tax side of things, it's a no tax, state tax thing. You know, did Ekblad really take a pay cut if it was, like, what if Toronto offered him the same amount of money? Would he have taken it? Yes or no type vibe. Obviously, his heart was to stay at home. By home, I mean in Florida. I don't know how much, like, for me, it's like, okay, when Florida was bad, when Tampa was bad, no one really wanted to go to those teams. But now, because, like, obviously the weather helps. Yes, no state tax helps. But how much is it also that Bill Zito was able to convince these players, like, hey, we're on a legendary status run here, like the early Detroit Red Wings type vibes. Obviously, the Montreal Canadiens back in the day, Colorado, like the early 2000 Colorado, late 90s.
So yeah,
like ultimately, I get the conversation, but
bro, okay, it's simple as this. It's simple as this. This is the best way to put it. Is it easier? 100%. Warm weather, no taxes. Obviously, it's easier to attract. But if that was the case, they should have been, attracting players into the 2000s, the early 2010s, right? All those times too, right? Like, why haven't they done that then, right? Makes no sense. The reason why they're attracting is, like you said, Bill Zito has created a legendary roster, and they're on a legendary run right now. It's as simple as that. That is the main pull, right? The other ones are just, benefits, right? No taxes. Obviously, yeah, Ekblad will probably 100% accept the $6 million here than he would in Toronto. Like, at the end of the day, it makes sense. That's a bonus. But Ekblad, the reason why he's staying is, one, he was a Florida for lifer, number one. And number two, he knows that being in Florida, he could be a part of one of the greatest teams in NHL history.
Like, I'm sure if this team was going to be bad next year, like how
LeBron,
how LeBron left Cleveland.
People took discounts to play with McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. Right? Just because
he's Connor McDavid.
And he's Connor McDavid. And number two, they're coming off a cup final run. Yeah. Right? So it's the same thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, LA has warm weather. I know their taxes are a lot higher. Yeah. But like, LA has warm weather. Why can't they attract,
They have to a certain, like, when they were good.
Exactly. At the end of the day, like, if Vegas wasn't good, Marner wouldn't be going there. It's just simple as that. That's a fact. Right? Yeah. And obviously the warm weather and low taxes there helps, but like, at the end of the day, if they weren't good, he ain't going there. Just simple as that. That's the bottom line at the end of the day.
We're gonna talk about the Canucks at the end very quickly too, but like, listen, they brought back 3 American players to Vancouver. Like, I get the argument, don't get me wrong. Is it somewhat of a problem? Sure, but I don't see it as big as a problem as how a lot of these other reporters or analysts and them see it as. Like, yes, if you had the option of a really good team with high state taxes and a really good team with low state taxes, chances are you're going to go with the one with low state taxes, right? So it is what it is, but like I just wanted to bring that up because
there's a bottom line. There's a bottom line. Be good. It's simple as that. That's like at the end of the day, Carolina Hurricanes, right, which we're going to transition to right now, they landed Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah.
Right? They landed him because they're a good team.
Yes.
They're coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, right? So, like, the Nikolai Ehlers signing for the Carolina Hurricanes is huge because they obviously added another play-driving, a lot of speed winger. Hopefully he's healthy and able to be on the ice a lot more. And on top of that, they were able to extend Stankoven on a fairly cheap deal with $6 million for, at the end of the day, a guy who's going to be a top 6 forward for them.
Should be, yeah.
And their top 6, I would say Carolina has obviously one of the best top six winger pairs in terms of Svechnikov and Jarvis, and then you have Stankoven and Ehlers right on your top 6 wingers. So like that's pretty set. Obviously they're gonna be looking for a second line center, but at the end of the day, Carolina Hurricanes essentially turned Mikko Rantanen into Logan Stankoven and Nikolai Ehlers. Obviously Stankoven in the trade and Ehlers in terms of like obviously cap space wise because they don't have to worry about extending Rantanen.
Then the net return of that is to still have another first round pick out of that. So as you guys could tell, Hurricanes are one of our other big winners, especially mine. So with Nick Ehlers, I guess my question to you is this: is he just like he's older than Marty Necas? Necas had a really good year before even he got traded to Colorado. He essentially was a point per game. Ehlers has not been that. Yes, you ideally would have kept Rantanen. We know what happened there. They fumbled the bag on Gensel. So my question to you is, between Ehlers, Necas, and Gensel, how would you have ranked them?
Gensel's one. Personally, I think the Carolina Hurricanes genuinely need elite goal scoring, more so than obviously a play driver.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, you'll take the Necas, you'll take the Ehlers 100%, but like Jake Gensel is literally a 40 goal scorer. Right, him in Tampa Bay this year was incredible. It was a great fit, and obviously playing with Point and Kucherov is a huge plus. But at the end of the day, Carolina Hurricanes still have Aho and Jarvis and Svechnikov, so he's going to be playing with elite level talent still. And at the end of the day, Jake Gensel, even in that playoff run, he wasn't bad. He was scoring goals for them. Like, it's not like Jake Gensel disappeared in that playoff run. I know, like the Carolina Hurricanes just had other issues when they were down 3-0 to the New York Rangers that year. But Jake Gensel at the end of the day gets goals, and that's what I felt like. You know, that's the biggest concern for the Carolina Hurricanes because obviously when you're looking at them in the playoff run, I know they have a little bit easier division, but when they're playing good, they're able to prevent goals and they're on a hot goal scoring streak too. But the question comes, right, essentially whenever they play Florida, whenever the goals run out, what's going to happen then? And at the end of the day...
Because Florida's a better version of it.
But at the end of the day, in the Eastern Conference Finals, the goal scoring went dry. And then on top of that, the goaltending didn't hold up, and obviously they got absolutely destroyed. And so that's why Gensel is number 1 for me because this guy can score in any moment of the game. And he could genuinely, because of that goal could change anything. Whether it's, you know, they're down something, could spark a comeback or just put away a game. So for that, Gensel's number 1. Necas is obviously younger, so like, but obviously because you want to bet on that. But Ehlers has been really good the last 3 years.
More consistent for a longer term.
Yeah.
Necas had one great year. He had issues with Brind'Amour before. Like
I would personally I felt like Necas was gonna be gone. I know they extended him and all that stuff, but I felt like he would have been the most expendable piece if they were trying to make an adjustment. I would give the edge to Ehlers just because, like you said, he's a little bit more proven and he's had better years. The only thing that concerns me, and I want to put Necas up there too, is very tight for me, is because Necas, in my opinion, is healthier and obviously is younger as well. But overall, I don't think you could go wrong with either of them.
Yeah,
but like, so the reason why I'll put Ehlers too is just because they already ran it with Necas and nothing really happened.
So Ehlers, like at the end of the day, this team needed talent. This team finally went out and spent, and we'll talk about Keandre Miller in a second here. These guys, they needed a guy. Like, is Ehlers going to fit here? I think, listen, his speed isn't like he's no McDavid. We all know that. Nobody's freaking McDavid, right? But he's going to push defenders back, right? They play a north-south game. We know that. Hurricanes do need to learn how to adapt, right? They can't be like, it can't be Brind'Amour being stubborn, like, we're going to play this and die on this hill, live on this hill type vibe, right? Ride on this hill, die on this hill type vibe. At least, like, listen, Ehlers does seem like a north-south player where he could get into his zone entry. He has the speed. Yes, you said it perfectly. Speed, but injury prone. The question is going to be the injuries. But at the end of the day, you need the talent there. If you didn't get Ehlers, who are you going to go and get? I said that, like, you need to get someone with term. For me, it was like a guy like Pasternak. Can you have traded for a guy like him for term? In this case,
like dream.
That was a dream. I'm just saying, like, that was just a perfect dream example. But in this case, you didn't have to give up assets to get Ehlers necessarily, right? So he's there. We'll see what happens. He's gonna be able to drive play himself. He's a really good play driver. Yes, he's an under a point per game scorer. 6 years, for 8 point whatever million it was. I say that's fair, right?
He could have easily leveraged it to like 9.5.
He could have gotten more.
He could have easily leveraged that. And if he had a great agent, he could have leveraged that to 9.5 million. With Besser getting re-signed as well.
He took his time because he was the last guy to sign, right? Like Marner obviously went day before. Besser went the day of. He wanted to see what the best situation was. Washington was in conversations. Edmonton was scaring me with what they were doing, and obviously he didn't end up there. But he ended up going to Carolina, and this is a big dub for Carolina. They needed talent. We'll see how it ends up being, and hopefully it works out. But the other move they made that I really liked, yes, draft pick wise, expensive. He is not your highest paid defenseman because he's older than Jacob Slavin. Keandre Miller's a really good player, and they obviously Orlov and Burns are not good at their prime anymore, right? They obviously left for different teams. Orlov, wherever, Colorado, and I think San Jose respectively for those players. Keandre Miller may not have the greatest year last year, but you could say none of the Rangers really had a great year last year. Those playoff years that the Rangers made a run in, the President's Trophy year as well, Keandre Miller's a damn good defenseman. $8 million is fair. Like him and Ekblad are in the similar tierish for me, right? Ekblad, obviously, like I said, hometown discount for him. They upgraded heavily defensively. We know what they are. They're a team that needs to score first and then prevent. Simple as that, right? Getting Keandre Miller helps that. Yes, this might be one of those rare win-win things because the Rangers did well getting a good return for them. And Rangers, we're not going to talk about them much in this video. I like the moves that they made as well. But getting Keandre Miller in, upgrading that defense off the bat, you have Jacob Slavin. So you have two. I think they're both left-handed, right? I don't know if Slavin's left or right, but on the top of my head,
Slavin's left.
So do you have two guys now on your left side that could are good defensively, in my opinion, then that could lead ways. Yes, can they upgrade it a little bit for sure? Can they upgrade their goaltending for sure? And you said it, 2C. But they're in the right direction. They're in a weaker division. Yes, if New Jersey is healthy, they'll contend with them. We'll see what Washington does, and we'll see what the Rangers do now. But at the end of the day, like, can this team finally be Florida? I would say no at the moment. But listen, third time might be the charm.
No, there's not.
No. For 1 year specifically. But
Florida's gone in the bag. But at the end of the day, like you said, Carolina is on the right track for sure. But before we move on to our losers, if you guys are hockey fans, you guys should hit the subscribe button because obviously you already clicked on the video. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please hit that because we post hockey videos weekly, mostly multiple times a week as well. And we're in the off-season mode, so we'll be experimenting with different types of videos. So hit the bell icon so you could be notified for those as well. But let's move on to our losers. And I am going to start off with a team that I mentioned before, which is the LA Kings. And I felt like the Kings did spend money. They had cap. They were aggressive. It just felt like they were definitely aggressive in the wrong places. That's 100%.
Benning-esque for you?
Kind of, yeah.
It is Ken Holland.
It is Ken Holland, but yeah, it was kind of Jim Benning-esque. Like, there's no way you get rid of Spence and like pay CC like that.
Here's the thing, right? So, okay, let's start off with their biggest loss, Gavrikov. He goes to New York for a 7x7. I don't know how much of that is because he just wanted to leave LA. I don't know if what LA was trying to offer for him. I don't know what Ken Holland is thinking there.
LA were trying to keep him.
Yeah, they were. Gavrikov's a really good defenseman as well.
Gavrikov chose New York.
So which is fine, right? So you have to adjust and move on. The problem I had was, you lose Gavrikov. How are you going to replace him? Then you trade Jordan Spence for nothing, really. Jordan Spence, a really good underrated defenseman as well. You send him to Ottawa, okay? And then you pay Cody Ceci all that money. Ken Holland was in Edmonton. Okay, I could see the link there. But giving him that much money, I don't get it. You still have it's the same coach. Right? I don't think they got rid of Hiller right now. He's going to be a prime candidate of getting fired mid-season. That's for sure because it's a new GM. And for me, I don't get it why they did that. This Kings team, and Kopitar might be retiring, so then you're putting a lot of... And Kempe's a free agent. I think he'll come back, but who knows what's going to happen. And then you're going to put a lot of pressure on Byfield now, who needs to obviously step up. I don't get the moves they made. They brought back Kuzmenko, 1 year deal, fine, whatever. He had a good year for them, that's fair. But overall though, for a team in Vegas who leveled up heavily with Marner, you needed to obviously keep pace with that. Instead, you kind of went in the opposite direction, in my opinion. Here's
another thing why LA is loser. Obviously, they've kind of fumbled a bag so far in this situation, but they were trying to get Besser, right? They were trying to obviously get Ehlers. They were even trying to get Marner, right? They were trying to get the big players, the top dogs in this class. Even at the trade deadline, they were trying to get Besser at the trade deadline as well. And there are reports on that. So the Kings were trying to genuinely upgrade their offense, and they failed in every single way. Kopitar at the end of the day is not getting any younger. Fiala is not getting any younger either. A lot of pressure is on Kempe, and obviously Byfield, but like Kempe in terms of, because he's in the leverage spot. Kempe has all the leverage now, because he could easily wait and see like, oh, if this team's not good, I could force myself to get traded at the trade deadline, or potentially just walk in free agency, right? Or in another situation where Kempe has all the leverage is like, oh, you guys suck, right? Potentially, at the end of the day, if the LA Kings are still the LA Kings, they'll still be a good team at playoff. They could make a playoff push still. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying LA is not going to make the playoffs, right? But there are chances that LA is going to be a worse team potentially, because the teams around them, they get a little bit better in the Western Conference overall. So because of that, Kempe is like, oh, I'm all you got. Give me this much, right? That's how much I'm worth, and you need me, because if I'm gone, you guys are really cooked. Right, yeah. Especially with Kopitar and Doughty almost having a foot out of the door from retirement. So like that's another L for the LA Kings right there.
And speaking of the Pacific Division losers, I think the Pacific Division might be somewhat of a loser, but the Edmonton Oilers, obviously, listen, I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. Connor McDavid will be an Oiler. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, what if Toronto this, blah, blah, blah. He's going to go here. He's going to be an Oiler. The only question is going to be obviously the contract length.
It feels
he's
like
probably
going
to
get
16, 17 mil.
It's going to feel like a bridge deal. That's what it feels like.
Because this is the last year of getting 8-year contracts as well. But it's Connor McDavid. He's going to obviously take a 4 year, then take another 4 or 5 year max extension, even more when the cap goes up. But he's going to be an Oiler. You don't disagree with that. I'm assuming.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. You already have Draisaitl locked up for 8 years, so that's fine. You still have the two. You have the best player in the world, and then you have a top 3 player in the world, right?
They did dub up in one sense in terms of obviously getting rid of Kane's contract and able to extend Bouchard. But after that is where Bouchard there were rumors. I'm not saying it would have happened, and they probably got scared that an offer sheet might have come in, right? But Bouchard's at a 4x10.5 as well, and we know what Bouchard's concerns can be on the defensive side of things. But he's been good in the playoffs relatively, offensively especially. Yeah. But this year you surprised teams with your depth scoring up until the final. Arvidsson, you moved. Kane, you moved, right? Corey Perry is now in LA. Which I guess if we're going back to LA very quickly, they might be a winner because they might go to the finals but lose. Yeah. But joking aside, Edmonton lost Corey Perry. They lost Connor Brown. They got Andrew Mangiapane in, so they kind of redeemed themselves a little bit because Mangiapane is a solid player, right? He can play. He'll fit well. You're gonna get Hyman back healthy, but after that, it's like if for me, and correct me if you disagree if you want, it felt like they were going like there were reports about Brock Besser. It felt like they were making space and trying to get Brock Besser before the Canucks called back Brock Besser. That's what it felt like they were trying to do, get another solid guy, and then Brock Besser would have fit there like a glove. I felt like the same thing as what the LA Kings were trying to do as well, because they were trying to go after big name. Yeah, but I could definitely see the Oilers doing that. So that doesn't I do think they're a loser right now. Obviously, they don't have enough talent around McDavid and Draisaitl, so a lot of pressure is on McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard, and obviously their goaltending hasn't been upgraded yet.
Goaltending is still the same.
Right? So it's still the same. So right now, they still need to add some more depth in goaltending. So they are a loser. But what I feel like could happen is this, like at the end of the day, the Edmonton Oilers have generated this space so they could make a big move for like a big trade potentially. Because at the end of the day, there were only like literally 2 pieces you could get in free agency. And I don't think they would have been able to afford Ehlers because Ehlers had leverage. And obviously Besser re-signing. But that doesn't change the fact that the Edmonton Oilers are still in a position this offseason to make a big trade to get a couple stud depth pieces, maybe a goaltender, whatever it is. So right now they're a loser, but they could, for like if you're looking at a whole offseason picture and up until the beginning of the season, they can potentially be a winner because they still have an opportunity, in my opinion.
Or just be normal.
Go back to normal. But overall, when I'm looking at it right now, I 100% agree they are a loser. But they do have an opportunity to improve still.
Listen, they're a loser of the moves they made. They're still going to be fine. They should be a playoff team. You have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, Bouchard, like all these guys locked up already, right for these next, should lock up McDavid and then in a couple of years as well. Yeah, their biggest concern, I'm looking at the goaltending. We'll see what happens there as well. But moving on, these were our 2 definitive losers, but if I had a loser from the Eastern Conference, I have the Boston Bruins. I don't know if you agree with that. Maybe you have someone else you want to bring up. I have the Boston Bruins. And the reason is, one, they gave the worst contract in free agency to Tanner Jeannot, right? 5-year deal. you're not really gonna go anywhere. That was more definitely Jim Benning-esque move. That was a Jim Benning-esque move in my opinion. And then you didn't really upgrade any positions. Like Elias Lindholm was supposed to be your 1C. He struggled as that in that role, wasn't great. Zadorov, okay, I could bank on him to be better next year. You have a new coach coming in, Marco Sturm, so we'll see what happens. Maybe it could be a coaching thing, and they might make us look pretty stupid here. But when it comes to the team overall, I don't see them getting anywhere. The Atlantic is really good. Yes, Toronto got worse, but they're still going to be a good team. Tampa, Florida are going to be really good as well. Montreal, you could argue them as an offseason winner with the moves they made with getting Noah Dobson
Montreal dubbed up,
and Bolduc,
yeah.
right? Ottawa, right? So there's almost every team except like Buffalo and maybe Detroit are ahead of you right now at the moment, and you could even argue those two teams are ahead of you. Yeah, like I don't get what they're doing. They might be at a situation where they got to force to maybe sell. Obviously, you have Pastrnak locked up, Swayman locked up. You have Charlie McAvoy, and I get that, but like, you can't. You're not known. You're like the Golden State, not Golden State, like the New England or the Pittsburgh Steelers. That you were supposed to be good year in and year out, almost being playoff talks. Last year was the first year we weren't there. We'll see what happens if this continues or not with Marco Sturm.
Here's the thing with the Boston Bruins, and in terms of like, obviously, if they haven't done anything, like I think the Boston Bruins would have been a better team for sure. But the fact that like you spent it on Tanner Jeannot and you give him that, what was it, $30 million, I believe?
I'll double check it, but I keep talking.
Because I believe it's 5-year contract for him.
It was a 5-year.
Yeah, so I don't know how much money is probably like.
I don't think it was 30. I don't think.
Yeah, no, there's no way $6 million. Yeah, it's like probably around like at the end of the day, you have him there for $5 million or 5-year contract.
5 years, 17 mil, 3.4.
Yeah, so $17 million total, not $30 million.
But he's a bottom 6 guy.
But here's the thing, Tanner Jeannot since Nashville, the Tampa Bay Lightning acquired him for like I believe a lot of second round picks too. Like
yeah, that was a horrible trade.
Yeah, he was supposed to elevate the Tampa Bay Lightning. He didn't do that, right? And the Tampa Bay Lightning are a damn good team. And then he goes to LA.
13 points in 67
He's supposed
games.
to help LA, elevate, right? Be one of the better bottom 6 guys, middle 6 guy type of guy, right? He hasn't really done good there. So at the end of the day, like, sure, you want to sign a player, you bring in Tanner Jeannot, but Tanner Jeannot, since Nashville, hasn't done anything to help anyone, right? So yeah, in terms of like just making one signing as a loss, but like signing Jeannot to that
5 years,
right? For a guy who hasn't really done much, right? To help any team really get better.
You're not.
It just doesn't make sense. Do I think Tanner Jeannot for the Boston Bruins, it would be good for a depth piece? Sure, yeah, 100%.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
But not even a couple of years. Like at the end of the day, not for like 5 years and $17 million either, right? But yeah, Tanner Jeannot hasn't done any. Like he was acquired by playoff contenders, cup contending teams, and he hasn't done anything to help them. So he's not going to do much for the Boston Bruins to get any better, in my opinion.
Before we close it out, let's quickly talk about the team that we represent. We're both literally wearing their shirts, so it will feel weird not talking about them. We don't need to go too long here, just a couple of minutes. Vancouver Canucks, the moves, they were tight on the cap, right? The moves they made were trade for Evander Kane, which we talked about with Run Deep, which you guys should check out that podcast linked down below or coming up on the screen. But also they brought back Connor Garland in a fair 6x6 contract. Thatcher Demko, I like the years on that. 3 years. Yes, cap hit makes him the top 4 goalie payment, but 8.5 when healthy, I believe he's a top 5 goalie in the NHL. But everybody surprised, including Brock Besser himself. They brought back Brock Besser on a 7 by 7.25 or something like that, in the $7 million range, $50 million total money. I feel like that's a fair contract for Brock Besser. The ultimate question is what's going to happen next year. This Canucks team overall, would you view him as a winner? Would you view him as a loser? Because for me, I think it's a lot of ifs for them to be a winner or ifs to be a loser.
Right.
And PD, sorry, one last thing. Elias Pettersson is going to stay as a Canuck. His no-move clause has kicked in along with Philip Hronek and Kevin Lankinen.
And
Marcus Pettersson.
I'm going to reference one of our favorite YouTubers, Troy Dan.
Sure.
Is it a W or is it an L? Well, is it an N?
And then N is for neutral.
And it means you don't care. I do care.
Because it's our team.
It's our team, but it's definitely a neutral. It's an N.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's an N because the Vancouver Canucks haven't gotten worse. The Vancouver Canucks haven't necessarily gotten better and convinced you that they're going to make the playoffs now. But at the end of the day, with the season they had last year and missing, by that much, it was very close, right? If genuinely
4 points, I think.
Like genuinely, if they just didn't mess up 4 overtimes, right,
Connor Garland himself, it probably would have been in, and obviously a slight drama.
A slight drama. So a lot of things went wrong externally for the Vancouver Canucks and internally as well. But when you're looking at it, the Canucks haven't gotten worse, necessarily haven't gotten better, but we can still view them as an opportunity to make the playoffs. So like at the end of the day, we're not going to rule them out.
Listen,
They're going to be in a playoff race, right? As long as, they do what they've been doing the last couple of years, as long as Adam Foote doesn't come in and mess up everything.
Kings, Oilers are losers for us. So exactly. They have a conversation.
So and they're in the Pacific Division. So they're definitely neutral. Obviously, they need to upgrade at center heavily right now.
Yeah.
But overall, when you're looking at defensively, these guys are like one of the best defensive players.
Best goalie tandem, probably.
They're gonna have the best goalie tandem as long as they're healthy.
Yeah.
They're gonna have the best goalie tandem. They have a top 10 defensive group. All right. Obviously, the question is where the goal is gonna come from, and the other question is
Patterson
freaking just show up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they become losers if Patterson is bad and he could have offloaded him. They become winners if they make the playoffs, right? The good news with these guys, and to close it out here, is that Jim Rutherford said he wants players that want to be there. Yes, they couldn't bring back Pius Suter. We get that. They brought in Evander Kane because he wanted to be a Vancouver Canuck. We'll see what happens with Bowen Byram's situation because he wants to be a Vancouver Canuck because he's from here. But the fact that you were able to bring back 3 American guys, not Connor Garland not being homegrown, but like the guy you drafted in Demko, your longest tenured Canuck and Besser, who everybody loves, and you could start setting up a culture. And Connor Garland himself says like he wants to be here. And obviously all this helps Quinn Hughes as well because he's close with these guys when it comes to next year's talk with him. You at least have players that want to be there. You're not necessarily paying these guys or overpaying these guys to come here and like they're
just get money in.
Yeah, like the Messier situation maybe or whatever the case might be, right? But overall, it's a wait and see type of situation from them. You said it perfectly. And it's an N. N means neutral. N means, in this case, we do care. But shout out Troy Dan, though. One of the inspirations for us getting into this scene as well. But overall, that's our winners and losers. So comment down below who you guys think are a winner and loser that we did not mention or maybe should not have been on this list. We want to hear your thoughts down below. We want to interact with you guys. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Hit the post notification bell as well because we're dropping more content this summer. Just because hockey season is over, off season is done, pretty much done. We're not done. We're here. Follow all our channels linked down below, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.